Hello and welcome to another episode of SuperCoach Insider. My name is Ben.
And I'm Chris.
And thank you for joining us for our Fremantle Dockers team analysis today.
We are getting into the Freo Dockers.
We are.
The one-man team I like to call Five City.
Five City. Five is life. And look, as you know, we have quite a few episodes out already, so please do check us out there. We're covering basically the premiums, the rookies, draft relevancy and breakout contenders, that kind of thing.
Excellent.
But to start off, I'm quite thirsty, Chris. I'm going to give you a quick little cheers.
Hello.
We're going to have a little cheers for Michael Pendergast.
Excellent.
Michael
Cheers, Michael.
Prendergast. He's in hospital at the moment, mate, so he did shout out saying thanks, boys, and how our banter and listening to our voice makes him feel better. So, look, cheers to you, mate, and all
Cheers
the
to you,
best
mate.
with the recovery.
Excellent. Now, if you want to get in touch with us, obviously you can through Facebook at facebook.com/SC Insider.
Yep,
On
SC
Twitter.
_ Insider. Twitter, it's SC _ Insider _ Twitch.tv/SC _ Insider. And on all the major platforms, just search for us, SuperCoach
Absolutely.
Insider, boys. Get amongst it. And keep up the love. In case you are really enjoying these podcasts, also on Twitter and on Facebook, have a look because all of our stats are actually released in a big spreadsheet, so you can take that along, you can print it out in defenders, forwards, midfields, you can actually separate it and use it for draft days, and that's what we use.
Oh, yeah.
I use it, I have it all printed out, and I start crossing off the names, and that's how we win draft leagues.
That's pretty much
In
it.
a nutshell.
Very easy.
Yep.
All right. So where do we start with Freo? Because the reports that I got so far this off-season have all been that Freo are more looking towards a development year, getting time into the kids, and they still don't think that they're on the cusp, even though they kind of were in the mix for finals right up until the last few weeks.
Yeah,
so it's going to be a bit
it's going to be interesting, and the thing that's going to be the big key factor, I think, is they're big forwards. If they can get them all fit and on the park, I can't see why they won't do well this year. However, I understand what you mean. It's going to be an interesting one because they've just got 3 high draft picks, so they're going to get games in them. Phase out Monday, and I actually see this as a big phase out Monday year.
Yeah. He's been so good for them.
He's
for
been
so
so
long.
good. He's been so durable, but I can't see him. And based off the reports I've seen, even Pfeiffer's saying he has to play smarter. He can't just be that ball inside all the time because you just get beaten up.
Well, what I found interesting about that entire interview is that he said that, but he prefaced it by saying that that's how he played last year.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily that he's going to be changing his role this year.
No.
It's last year I changed my role slightly and changed how I played.
Oh, he did well and gave him more longevity, but he was
Absolutely.
saying to let the younger guys like your Bray Shaw, your Cheras, a few of the other players take some of that brunt, like your Bewleys or whatever. Try and let them take some of the brunt and some of the hits, and then let him go in there, have his impact, and then float forward and do his thing. But look, season review though, let's go for it. Fremantle, second for contested possessions. Fife, hello, basically, and however, they were 11th and 14th for clearances and centre clearances, which means that they were really good for contested ball around the ground, but they were absolutely getting smashed, and I think that's probably due to the fact they had some inconsistencies in their ruck.
I was going to say that the lack of Sandy and the injured to Sean Darcy and was it Rory Lobb that they have over there
Yeah,
now?
correct.
Yep.
So, not getting much continuity in that, and probably getting the negatives on the tap outs and then not getting the clearances or the contested ball from the centre clearances. They were also 11th for effective disposals.
11th.
13th for 11th. There you go.
That's
13th for effective disposals, 15th for disposal efficiency, which meant they weren't being very effective at all with their disposals and on their boot. So
what about secondsies?
Secondsies for turnovers, Chris, funnily enough.
Excellent.
Yeah, so 4th for contested marks, which I think Fife is a great contested marker. Then you have Lobb and you have some of these other guys like Hogan when fit. They're good at marking the ball. So that's no surprise that for marks inside the forward 50 and for marks and contested marks in general, they did really well.
Yep.
But effective disposals and disposal efficiency were down. Their turnovers were up because of that, so they were second overall in the comp for turnovers. But the good thing was that they were 4th for intercepts. So they turned it over, but then they were good at kind of intercepting the ball, which is why I think they actually did quite well.
Well, you got good players like Luke Ryan behind the ball that were taking intercepts left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
I think that they're similar to Essendon. They had a lot of injuries from their top tier players. Now Jesse Hogan, obviously can be anything, and I think we all can see the talent that he possesses. Yes. But he's got to get on the park to show us anything like that.
He does.
Cam McCarthy, what's happening with him?
Oh, he's just Catch you later.
Yeah.
His year off that he took before going over to Fremantle, maybe he would have done something productive with his time. Anyway, so the good other thing I noted is, Chris, is that the Fremantle are third for 1%ers in the league, which is good, which means that across the park they're actually putting in a lot of effort. However, their forward line stinks because their forward line, they have the least amount of tackles in their forward 50 in the competition.
Wow, that's bad.
Yeah, so it's going in and it's just leaking like a sieve
Catch you on.
straight out. Yep, straight out the back. Catch you later. And you can't sustain that if you're not getting any tackles inside the forward 50. The ball just comes out. And they
I
don't
wouldn't
score.
say that Hogan and McCarthy are very forward pressure focused.
But hopefully some of their new draft picks will actually add some talent.
It's also what happened. I mean, we saw obviously Michael Walters further up the field on the wing last year, as opposed to being in the forward line. He was a good forward pressure player, and moving up the ground, you rob Peter to pay Paul. That's what happens in football.
Yeah, that is what happens. So the draw, they have the round 13 bye, so the middle bye, not so good. But Champion Data actually has them ranked the easiest draw in 2020. And that is something to take note of, particularly in draft leagues or even for your premiums. The good thing is they have no 5-day breaks. They have 5 6-day breaks, which is down. They had 6 in 2019, so that's down from that. And they avoid travelling to Canberra and Launceston because they actually require multiple flights. So they have it pretty good there. When you have a look at their start of the year, though, it's actually quite good. And yes, there are some hard draws like all of them, but they have the Dons, Hawks, D's, Suns, North, Geelong, West Coast, Adelaide, Dogs, Saints, Lions, Swans, Blues, Port, and D's, all to start the year. So basically, you're looking
2 there in the middle, right?
Yeah, Geelong and West Coast, and that is pretty much the hard part. So apart from that, they have the Suns twice, Saints twice, West Coast obviously twice, D's and Dogs. Not
and
too
again,
bad.
anything can happen in the derby, right?
Anything can happen in the derby, and basically and this is why I'm off Fife to start the year because he's coming off an injury. However, when you look at that start to the round, he could dominate so many of those, and they play Gold Coast twice, which is even better. But the final 7 rounds, it actually gets harder for them because they play the Dogs, West Coast, Collingwood, Suns, Saints, GWS, and Richmond. So out of that 7, you're only really looking at Suns and Saints as possibly easier rounds, and the Saints are meant to be a top 8 side, in quote, this year. So I would be getting on any Fremantle people like, Hill. I'd be getting on them early. Even as a point of difference, Luke Ryan to start the year, because he could towel up at the start of this year, and not so much as an upgrade towards the back end.
I like where your head's at. All right, well, let's get through the through your predictions and go from there, because I've got so much that I want to say about the players.
Oh, really? Okay, fair enough. Okay, so year prediction, I predict they're playing the kids. Hopefully Hogan, Lobb, and Fife stay fit, but if those 3 players are injured at any point throughout the year, they could end up finishing bottom 4 easily. So I actually have them finishing around that sort of 14th mark, just outside the bottom 4, because I think game winners like Walters and Fife could get them over the line a couple times a year, and I think that'll kind of sneak them out of trouble. So list changes. You had Langdon going to Melbourne. You had Hill going to the Saints. They're the main ones there, and H coming in from Collingwood, and Akers to the Saints from the Saints. So it's easily known that they have a couple of wing spots available. Yes, you got Akers in, which kind of provides some of that compensation for that, which I think they needed him, to be honest.
Yep.
And so we'll start with our premiums. Natty Fife, the guy that Chris criticised me for starting last year and wish he started, basically.
Pretty much.
If he didn't get knocked out, he was going 130.
Oliver, who I chose, instead of him, actually scored more in overall points, but only if you don't factor in the rookie scores you would have had on field those weeks. I think both weeks, Stack went like 107 both weeks.
You know who I chose instead of... You know who I chose with... Because I had Oliver. You know who I chose instead of Oliver? Like on top of Oliver?
I don't know. Who?
Crouch. I think I win, Chris.
I had both.
So my concern with Fife is that he actually had shoulder reconstruction in the off-season. Not too highly publicised. Like, yes, you get banged up, and I thought maybe he just had a bit of a clean out, but they actually said shoulder reconstruction. And he is working his way back. So he's been running, he did the time trial, yeah, that's good, but he's not doing contact work. So it says, being managed for the first part of the year, he's starting contract drills as he completes his rehab phase on his shoulder reconstruction. That doesn't sound good. for me. And I know he's a premium and he's an athlete and he's good and
he really need?
He'll be fine.
Though?
No, but
like honestly,
it does. I don't like picking people coming off surgeries. If I can help it.
I think. When was the last time he didn't come off a surgery? You know what I mean? Like, I think he's always on some sort of...
Okay.
It's a little bit like Clayton Oliver. Just the way they play, there's always some sort of postseason surgery.
That's true. I guess didn't Clayton have double shoulder reconstruction
shoulders,
and I still picked him?
110.
Okay, so I'm a hypocrite. Right.
And
start 5.
There's that video of him doing he's doing a warm-up test the day before the round 1 to see if he can get selected. And he got through it. And he played every single game for the year. I mean, you know, like... That,
you're
5,
right.
Same thing.
Okay, I'm a hypocrite. I need to pick 5. Right, fair call. Okay, so he did get knocked out on round 3 for 64, true average of 122, 6 scores of 144 or more, and only 1 below 90. So he has a good base. He has a good ceiling. He just looks good too. Let's be honest.
He's everything you want.
He's everything you want. Hell, I don't even go for long hair.
The reasons really against Fife is that he's obviously a premium, like his price, right? So who else can you have that could potentially get you 5 returns that may be a little bit cheaper? I'm of the opinion he hurts you more with his captain scores as well, because you've got to remember that a lot of people captain or vice captain him, and being usually Fremantle have late games. Do we check into?
They're not playing like a lot of primetime TV, so there'll be Fremantle,
a lot of Sunday games.
They
usually have a lot of late games, which means there's always a backup captain option, and he hurts you that way. Plus, you just don't want to be that guy that's watching a Fremantle game and watching Fife do everything.
Oh, like 140 at 3/4 time or something. Yeah, you were hating it.
And he goes in these huge quarters. He'll get like 60, 70 points in a quarter, and I'm just like,
yeah, you're watching him inflate, and then he'll just go forward,
he gets injured or something, or like
fair call.
Rolls an ankle, just runs off the ground.
So speaking of running off the ground, my next forward premium is Michael Walters.
Yep,
he's a forward mid, 547k. A lot of people really picked him up well. He averaged 100 for the year, 22 games, which was unheard of for Walters, because normally you just expect him to, pull a Walters.
Absolutely.
87% time on ground, good disposal efficiency for that. 1200s, 6 of those 120 plus, which I thought was really good.
Yep.
Big ceiling though too, because he has a 137, a 139, a 158. And the funny thing with Walters though is that he'll always have these lower games, so you could probably pick him up at a good price somewhere throughout the year. But then he could also hurt you, especially in draft leagues or even in standard leagues if you're playing for competition instead of overall. But he'll go on streaks, like it'll be 109, 50, 120, 103, 139. That was one block of 5 games. And then he went on another streak, 110, 127, 158, 100. Another 4 rounds where he just towed up. And then he had another streak of 5 games, 104, 113, 137, 56, and a 124. So amongst that, you might go some games of 70s and 60s and 80s or whatever, but then he'll just go on these hot streaks where he just dominates, and then he gets full of confidence, and people forget how much he dominates, and he just starts toweling everyone up.
The other consideration is with Hill no longer there, he's going to be their main conduit going from defence to the forward line. He's the one that runs up the wing, provides them with those running bounces. The biggest issue with Walters is not Walters, it's himself. It's the fact that if you look at SuperCoach as a whole, most people are only starting 2 premium forwards, and most people are going to be starting Lockie Whitfield 1, Dustin Martin 2.
Isaac Heaney 3.
Well, some are going to do that. So what that's going to mean is that if you are going Walters, you're basically picking Walters over Dusty Martin, right? That's essentially what you're doing.
Yeah,
or you're going Dusty and
that's
Walters.
not a good idea, because Dusty will hit you 100 with his eyes closed.
Dusty goes in and out.
Yeah, but he'll still get you 100.
Well, he's going to average 100, right? Like, I'm pretty confident with him still averaging 100. His top end, though, he's got more potential to average that 110 mark. So I'm sort of... I'm much more leaning towards starting Dusty in a safer option. He's played like every game for like 8 years, Dusty. You know, like... You don't have to worry about it. Touch wood.
Yep.
Whereas Walters, a slightly riskier pick, very unique, but that's why he's probably not going to be.
Walters could average you 88 to 100, and you'd be like, yeah, that's Walters. That's pretty good, right?
That's what you'd expect.
Dusty, he could go 106, 108, 108.9. You'd be like, yeah, it's a good year. Dusty.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what you expect. So, the next premium is Luke Ryan, who. Big on. He has had the hot start for the last 2 seasons.
He goes on runs, boy.
He goes on big runs, and in a good way. The first start of his season for the last 2 years, he's just gone out and absolutely averaged huge. 2 years ago on the back end of the year, he really tailed off and went and dropped off a cliff. But he was on our radar because we knew that potential was there. And last year, he actually did quite well, particularly to start the year. And he has a lot of games where he hits 80s and whatever. And sometimes you get points and you're like, how the hell is he racking up these points? He has a big ceiling. He is definitely...
He takes kickouts.
He's one I'm watching. Okay, so he got injured on 48 in round 19, so a true average of 98.65. His average before the bye was 104.5. That's before the bye. And then he averaged 82 after. So in 2018, it was 98.5 before the bye and 77.8 after. So his ceiling, he has a 131, a 145, a 156. So he has some big games. I'm big on him, and I did get some inside word last year. Apparently, a friend of ours actually is friends with his brother, and apparently he had a slipped disc in his back, and they were managing him and kind of forcing him to play, which it makes you wonder how much players are kind of like horses, or how much they're like horses and stuff, where it's like you are your person, but you also belong to someone, and they want you to play.
That's what happens
so
when you sign a contract.
You have to kind of play. And I was like, oh, really? No, surely not. They can't be doing that. And then he pulled out a couple of 60s, and he did not look right. And I was like, okay, I think maybe there is something to this. So take of it what you will. I think if he's fit, coming now with, Fremantle having some different wingers coming in, I think they're going to look to him more than ever. And you got Young, they reckon, I think will probably come across that back line somewhere with his big boot for the high draft pick.
Yep.
I think Ryan's just going to... I don't know. He's one of those players, and I hate the bye being the middle one, and I don't know if I'm going to start him in standard, but he could easily average you high 105 for the first part of the year.
He averaged 104 in the first half of last year, 104.5, and then in the second part of the year, averaged 82.29. So he was also injured on 48 in round 19, making a true average of 98. But
I said that already.
So I see... Here's what I see with Luke Ryan. I don't think many people are going to spend much in their defense, and I think that he's going to be massively unique.
He's the Lloyd of 2021.
Oh, that's a big call.
He reminds me of Lloyd.
If he had a clear run at it, he could average 105 for the year.
Yeah,
he could.
He just needs some consistency.
I wouldn't be surprised if he did do that.
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm looking at him more in a draft league. Close your ears, Chris. Earmuffs. I'm looking more for a draft league for me. He averaged 95.8. I'd happily pick him up, just above that, and I think people will be going ahead of him. I'd bank him over. I'd bank him against a Sicily, even though I like Sicily.
But D2.
You could.
I suppose it just depends on where the picks are falling.
Yeah. But if you can get like a really good midfielder or a really good forward and then still get Ryan, I'd be happy.
Someone will pick up Doherty before they pick up Ryan, guaranteed.
Oh, you reckon that'd be you? I'd be picking up Ryan over Doherty first.
I wouldn't.
It's a draft league. It goes for a season. Anyway.
Oh, single draft?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who picked up... Does anyone have...
yeah, of course they do. Someone picked up Tom Mitchell and Doherty in the keeper league. I know. What an idiot. Except for this year. Okay, so next one, looking at rookies. So again, we touched on Hayden Young. I think he will come in. Problem is, though, they had 3 top 10 draft picks, and they're all too expensive.
Yeah.
Even then, which we'll get into...
Young's, 180k?
Yeah, and even then you get into... And the reason that people are so big on the number 1 draft pick in their side is they have this... He's a great player, and there's reports on him being better than Walsh. But because Walsh was so successful, people now have this inflated sense of, number 1 draft pick's going to make me lots of money. It doesn't always happen. And it's because of Walsh that people are like, we're starting him.
He's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, right.
Now, people are saying that Rowell is also the exception, not the rule. And I am a little bit cautious on Rowell. I
am waiting to see something. At least with Walsh, they were saying Walsh is killing it. Walsh is doing everything. Generation. He's killing it and running up the sand dunes, and he's doing really well. Rowell, he's just like, he's playing for the Suns. In you go.
I need to do a little bit more research into Rowell, but I am optimistic that he'll average 70. Pessimistic that he'll average 80.
Yeah,
at 200k.
It's I'm on the fence, to be honest.
Tough.
I'm on the fence because I like him being at my M6 if I have it. But then at the same time, if I can get away with not having him, I like my team without him. I can do a lot with that money.
I did a great team, and this is a good segue for you. I did a great team, a redo today, actually, of my team.
You said you weren't going to touch it.
I know, but then I was like, maybe if I just this. That. And I took
It's like when your missus is overseas for 6 months. I'm not going to touch it, babe. Lies. You can't help yourself.
That's never going to happen.
Anyway.
So I managed to fit 6 Uber Premiums and Gawn and Grundy into my team by adjusting rookies and getting more cash with some more unique options, including Connor Blakely. So,
which we'll
I'm
get
interested
into.
to see how he may get. Are we there yet?
Yeah, no, not yet.
Are we there yet?
Okay, so Luke Valente didn't play in 2019. He had groin issues. He's a 123k mid, so he's someone I'm looking at as a rookie. Don't know if I like his chances at all, but he is cheap, and he was someone that was kind of looked at last year, so I think keep an eye on him. Stephen Hill, the one we've spoken about already, 190k defender forward. He's been killing the training track, and he only had a few games last year, but he's averaged 70 in the year before, 80 constantly. He's even averaged 100 previously, and here's what gives me some confidence is that he says, and this is off the Fremantle website, I feel really good, I'm getting through training really well, and I'm pulling up fine. Then he says, throughout the preseason, I've been doing a lot of sprint work, and personally, I feel like my running hasn't changed much. I've still got my speed and endurance, so I feel fine, and hopefully I can bring that speed into games.
Well, that's good because for the last 18 months, he's had constant hamstring issues.
Correct.
So that's his big issue and why he hasn't been able to get on the park successfully.
So working on a strength program, working on his sprinting, he's doing well. I'm pretty confident, and at 190k as a rookie, yes, he's more expensive, but this is someone that can average you 80 plus. And
I'm more confident in Stephen Hill at the moment than I am in Matt Rao.
I'm more confident on Stephen Hill than I am on...
And he's forward defender. He's got a dual position swing.
Hill over Robertson for me at this point.
Ooh, I've got both. So.
Well, it depends on Robertson's role, but at least with Hill, you don't go 2 rounds in and go, oh, my heart's going, or whatever have you. You don't know the role that Robertson's playing. And he's cheaper. He can make you that much more money. So if it's one of the two, I'm going Hill. One of the two.
I'll only have Hill in my squad.
One of the two.
If he's in F4. Because I've got...
Oh, yeah. F3? No. Ooh.
No. Well,
Ooh.
I'm not putting him in defense.
Ooh. All right.
So that's what I think there's more value in defense than there is in the forward line. So if I'm having him in my team, it's probably at F4.
And the problem is, if you don't really want him in defense, if you're going... So here's the problem, and I've seen defenses like this already, because they go, oh, value's in defense, but then they'll have Doherty. They'll then have Robertson, they'll have Dodie, and they'll have Hill. 4 people coming off injuries in their defensive line.
Only one with soft tissue injuries, though.
That's still a risk for me. That's still a risk.
Everyone's
Anyway,
in the same boat. I'm fine with it. Let's do it.
Anyway, Toby Watson couldn't get a game in 2019, but he is a 123k defender. I don't see him getting a game just quietly. Not with these new
one
rookies.
that I am still looking forward to see. I don't know if he'll get a game this year. Sam Sturt. So he's 123k forward. Basically likened to Nat Fyfe in the way that he plays without the frame, and he's trying to build that up. And he basically shadowed Fyfe all last year, just trying to learn off him. So
I bet his bank account didn't shadow him.
Definitely not. But I like Sam Sturt as an option.
Okay.
If he can get games this year, keep an eye on him because I think that he will be a SuperCoach monster when he starts.
Yeah, right. Lloyd Meek as well could play in 2020. He did have some injuries previously, but they reckon he could actually take the ruck and contend. I don't know if he'll keep his role, but he could definitely...
I saw that today. There was an article about it.
Yeah, they reckon he could actually push his way for selection. So let's see how he goes. I think he was picked a couple of years ago.
Probably
2 or 3.
Darcy's to lose, but...
Yeah, true.
How we go.
Bewley, I'm going to put down here. 252k, expensive rookie. Average 51.7 from 5 rounds. Make of it what you will. I've heard a couple of people raving on about him. Beware of the Bew. The key... Okay, let's talk about positives. He won the 2K time trials twice. He's doing everything great. He returned in great condition.
Mature age recruit.
That's good. He's looking, and basically it's been advertised that he's looking to lock down one of the 2 wing positions available. When asked who'd impressed so far, Fyfe was quick to answer. Bewley was the one that's been impressing so far. And quotation marks, I think he's got his name penciled in for round 1 for that wing position, and someone's going to have to knock him off it. That's from Fyfe. So I think Bewley... Yes, 252k. Watch him. I don't like the price. I do not like the price. But
I hate the price.
Me too. And he could easily average you 70 and be like, yeah, you're doing well. But draft leagues, he's
70's
someone...
not enough at 252k.
Correct. But for draft leagues, as your last option, perhaps, he could average you 80 and be a good forward option in your draft league.
Fair enough.
Yep. Maybe 80. 80,
I need an 80.
I wouldn't pick him.
When I'm spending that sort of bank,
yeah,
even 200k, I want an 80. Because there's every chance that a 123k rookie comes on and starts averaging well, makes you cash really quick, and then you can make us because 80 is a stepping stone anyway.
Yeah.
You really are looking to make cash out.
Even Dodie, you want an 80 at least.
Oh,
and that's I'm
hoping for high 80s.
Yeah, but you at least expect an 80, otherwise it's a bust.
Got high hopes.
But if you buy Dodie for like 270 or whatever he is, right? If he doesn't make that, it's a bust. If he doesn't make 80, if he doesn't make 80, it is a bust.
It's a massive bust pick. Yeah.
And everyone that
Robertson's the same. Hill's the same.
Yeah, correct.
I think I honestly think if you're spending that much,
70 on Hill would still make money.
I just need an 80.
Still make 80 would be way better.
I think again, Raul. I think all of those sort of 200k plus, 200 300k. If you're not averaging 80, you're not making enough points to be a worthy consideration in your team. You're not making enough money.
If you're not first, you're last.
That's absolutely right.
Ricky Bobby.
You're paying that premium to average that extra more.
Otherwise, you might as well go.
You can get a 70 average.
Yeah,
really.
123k to get you a 65. And happy days.
And you'd be happy with a 60, but you want to. What you're aiming for from a 123k rookie is a 70 average.
Speaking of that segue, Chris, Connor Blakely. Let's go mid prices and breakouts. Blakely, huge upside. But
if you can ever get on the park.
Huge risk.
There's a lot of U's in that, or is it just one U each time?
No, there was like 3 huges on the upside, and then there was a couple more on the upside. But okay, so let's break it down. He's a 411k defender. For draft, particularly, he is so undervalued that you could take that risk on him, no doubt
Absolutely
at all.
In draft.
The problem is that middle buy, and it's Fremantle, so they have an easy start to the year, which is great, but then you've got the likes of Doherty. If you're starting Doherty, I don't know if you can start a Connor Blakely. Like, you want to try and minimise the risk that you're taking in each line. And at this point, if you're going a Doherty and you're going some of these Robertson types, you can't go a Blakely based on the fact that your risk is already elevated in that era. Well, you could. It'd be balls out. It'd be like, hey, check out these gonads. But the benefit,
this is the silly season, so
breakout, though. He has
okay with it.
Okay, so Blakely and Akers have the highest potential to break out for Fremantle, and then maybe Bray Shaw, and then maybe, is it Chera? How do you say his name? Chera. Yeah.
There's a silent H.
Okay, there you go. I call it yogging.
I think it's a soft J.
Soft J. Anyway, so he played 14 games this year. The most he's ever played is 17 games. All right, so that means that he has played 59 games of the last 88 games available. Over the last 4 years. It's not great.
And unfortunately, it's a lot of tissue injuries as well.
Yes.
Well,
he had that hamstring issue, which then we picked him for a
back issues.
We picked him for a midfield role, but then he missed like 12 weeks or something. 14 weeks.
Yeah, it's big hamstring.
Huge. It was like hamstring.
Off the bone.
Yeah, it was messed up. So that stopped his season because you can't try and get fit enough to play midfield after that. But here's the plus side that you're all hoping for.
The caveat.
Yes.
Or caveat.
I don't know, the cream. 2018, he played as a midfielder. When he came in, he's still super young too, which is even better. As a midfielder, he scored, and this is in a row, 100, 108, 103, 130, 98, 114, 74, 115, 129, 121, 119, and then got injured on a 7. And
he's got 110 potential as a midfielder.
Anyway, in that year, 2018, his true average was 94.3. The
Who's
downside is he hasn't
been mid-time, him or Bray Shaw?
I reckon him. You have Young coming into that back line. You have Wilson there already. So, and you have Logue. You have Wilson. You have
Logue
Ryan.
should be playing. And I mean, he got injured last year, but worked his way into the team and played fantastic when he got in there.
Yeah, but you add everyone else in there, and they have that new draft pick of Young. I think they need someone in that midfield role more than they do someone in that back line.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how their midfield mix sets up.
And the new coach, that's what... You can speculate so much with Fremantle because no one knows until they actually start to get some stuff going.
Well, Brayshaw's interesting as well. I mean, I find the fact that he has a very low disposal efficiency and kicking efficiency... I find that hazardous to their midfield.
Disposal's not too bad, 63, but yeah, his kicking's 43%, which is horrible.
Yeah, which is
and considering
it's Andrew Brayshaw, but now it's his brother. What's his brother's name? Angus.
Angus.
They have the same problem. They can find the ball, they can win the ball. That's not the issue. The issue is their disposal after they get the ball.
Well, they did tout him as one of the most well-rounded draft picks, so most consistent. So
he's number 2, so he should be right up there.
Correct, and he did come second in their 2K time trial. So his average did go from 60.5 to 70.5. I know people are getting hyped, and yes, if he goes into the midfield, he could end up averaging you fairly well, but realistically, I think anyway he's probably in the 80s, which doesn't make him standard relevant for me.
I think probably low 80 to 85.
Yeah, and even then, if he had a really good role and did really well, he might show great improvement and go 88. But that's still not standard relevant at all.
It's not, because 380k is too high. If he was high 200s, low 300s, you'd consider it. But at his price, again, he's a stepping stone.
Correct.
He's not going to make you 150k. That's 530k.
Yeah,
There's
third year breakout. It's possible. I mean, we saw Clayton Oliver do it, but
he's not Clayton Oliver.
He's not an inside ball. He's more of an outside
he
kind
only
of in
had
and
one
around.
ton last year in his entire year.
Yep.
He's yet to prove that he can do it. If you see him going on a barnstorming run, then great. Or maybe if he does a Clayton Oliver in the preseason, he smacks 300s in a row.
Yeah, then look at
you
him.
go, oh Jesus, maybe
you do.
Maybe he does. But I can't see it.
The next one, Blake Akers is a forward mid, 384k, 19 games, 70.8 average. He had some issues. So 2018, he actually did really well.
He's had constant body issues
since the second half of 2018. So 2018, he started pretty well. He started with a 144, 90, 97, 92, 107, 76.
And he was playing predominantly on the wing.
Yes, correct. And then he got injured and then pretty much had issues with his groin and everything else since then. But there is definitely an upside for him, particularly in draft. I can even see people being tempted in standard based on that 384k mark.
Absolutely.
He has gotten around that 90 sort of average in that year. And if this is the big if, is that if he does play on that wing, which I see him getting one of those wing spots.
I think one of the wing spots is his.
And he came in 4th, I believe, in the time trial as well. He pushed them early. That's
decent.
He was up there early and then got overtaken and came 4th.
Guess who's picking him up in draft?
Not you. Not you this year, Sly Dog.
I can't wait for draft day where we just go on head
but there's definite
to head against each other.
That's right. There's definite value. And if someone tries to jump at value, you just look at the next best pick and you find someone else that they missed. So don't get
except that
overcome.
The other guy wins.
Anyway, Chera is played 20 games, 62.4 average. Actually has good disposal efficiency, 73.1 by total and 65 by foot. So quite good disposal efficiency. Picked up number 3 in the draft. I actually see him improving quite a bit. He's also been tipped to take some of that more midfield role. I don't know if he's going to say, I don't think he's signed another contract. So I think this is kind of, hey, I think he could be thrown into the guts. It's been 2 years already now. Let's see what you've got. And maybe if we reward you, you might stay. So I see him getting a bit of a role in these guts here. He's a defender this year, which makes him draft relevant. I wouldn't be paying it for in standard because he averaged 62.4. So you're not going to get value on that unless he hits 90s. But for draft, he could hit you an 80-odd, particularly in a deep draft. You could go
both
value.
those guys are looking at 80 to 85 average.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
And I think I lost my train. If you look at say the Hugh McCluggage and the Jared Berry sort of format in terms of how they progress,
hit their 80s.
I think that their development was very similar. Their third year was a mini breakout, but it was to that 80 range.
Yeah.
And then it took another year for them to fully develop into
that 80,
sort of 95, 100.
I think McCluggage went like 85 to 100, didn't he, basically? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, so he was averaging, I think, 80, 82 or something like that, and then went bang. I'm almost a fully fledged
unless you're a Cripps or an Oliver, a contested beast. And the only ones that have jumped are contested beasts.
Yeah, huge.
Even Bontempelli went up big time as well because he's clean around the contest. And he's good with his possessions.
Yeah, but it's also about role. You still have to have the role.
Okay, so your draft relevance. Let's talk. Monday, we already spoke about saying that I think he'll probably be the largest dropper.
Avoid at all costs if you can.
I think, and not only that, he also broke his leg. The club's unsure when he's going to return. So I think just avoid at all costs, particularly at an 89 average, midfield only this year. Just avoid him in drafts, let someone else take him. Jesse Hogan was running 10Ks a session before Christmas break, so apparently he's progressing quite well. Probably has a still bit way to go, but I think he's important for them. Draft relevant because he has averaged you 90 odd before. So look, I think
I just don't think that he gets the same role that he does.
Me either.
That average.
But I think 80, you could pick him up in a deep draft. You could pick him up late.
Oh,
super
like a
late.
super deep draft.
Bench.
Like you're talking like 18
deep.
team draft or something. Yeah, maybe.
Deep draft, you could get Hogan easily. Darcy Tucker, look, he 300s.
I don't mind. Darcy Tucker's been serviceable in deep leagues for us before.
Serviceable. He was picked 27 in the draft a few years back, 2015. Could improve if he gets more mid-minutes. So he averaged 73.4, 80% time on ground, 72% disposal efficiency. He's 23. He's 184 centimeters. His progression's gone 53, 60, and 73. So he's been progressing nicely. 3 100s, including a 117. I think for draft particularly, he's worth a shot.
He won me a couple of league games, mate.
I reckon he could actually be a little smoky. I think Mr. Tucker
could be in competition for one of those wing spots. So.
Rory Lobb's only a ruck this year, which sucks. 300s, averaged 92.5 in 10 rounds with Hogan, and averaged 76 in 5 rounds without Hogan. So basically, if Hogan's playing, Lobb seems to do a lot better. But again, ruck only, I would not be picking him unless you get so desperate in your ruck stocks and you pick him like your rucks last and a few people have 2 rucks already and you're like, oh crap, who am I picking? Then Lobb.
He's not going to be the number 1 ruck. It's Sean Darcy. And
Darcy.
If Lobb plays, he's playing ruck forward.
So Darcy's 21 years old, averaged 85 over his last 5, basically. So it's his to lose. He's young, and rucks take a while to get going, and he's a big boy, so he could actually produce the goods, and I wouldn't be surprised if rucks like any average 80 odd for the year.
Fair enough.
Griffin Logue, the last one, draft relevancy, not standard. Average 53.75, by the way, after those 2 rounds where everyone got hyped up and put him in their standard side.
He made enough cash. I think he made like 100k, like super
unless
quick.
you kept him because he averaged 53 after that.
I
So
think I kept him.
yeah. And by that stage, most people didn't have any draft picks, any standard trades left, so they kept him.
Yeah, it was tough.
And the last one, injury news, Nathan Wilson had end-of-season toe surgery, so he is still in the rehab group, and that rounds us out for Fremantle.
Fair enough.
Jeez, that was long-winded. Look,
there was a lot there, but I think they are a very valid SuperCoach team this year.
Very
because of their transition and their development. So
yes, and not only that, we also
see how it all pans out.
Yes, and we also took a little bit of strategy this one, and it did include some draft relevancy with the number 1 pick and relating some of these players to other players, which is also helpful. So
I think that's going to be key in decision making for your final squads.
It is. All right, well, thank you very much. Next, we have Geelong.
Yeah, get into it.
Yes, the final disappointments.
Thanks, guys.
All right, bye.
Cheers.